Most animals are generally wary of humans, but in certain difficult circumstances, they have to drop this wariness and have people solve whatever it is they're struggling with, as you'll see in the next few minutes. But before we begin, I've noticed that most of you watching this aren't subscribed yet. If you do like our videos, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It's absolutely free, and you can always change your mind later. Number 24. A shark off the Cayman Islands coast somehow ended up with a 12-inch long knife in its head. He couldn't remove it, but he knew someone who could, a diver around the area. The shark circled directly above the diver and finally stood calm until the blade was pulled out. Sure, there was a not-so-nice open wound, but it was certainly better than the blade. Number 23. For an animal whose life depends on being in the water, a few moments on bare land can be a bit of a nightmare, which was certainly the case when this killer whale got stranded off the Alaskan coast. Luckily, some sailors were nearby to keep it wet until it was refloated at high tide by Alaska wildlife troopers. Number 22. This squirrel was the unfortunate victim of electrocution. As it was walking the delicate rope between life and death, some well-wishers swooped in to give it the much-needed CPR. Surprisingly enough, it worked. The little guy came to and was even able to continue with his day. Number 21. The king cobra is one of the most dangerous snake species. It rarely attacks though, and would rather slither away than launch an attack unless it really has to. For this cobra filmed in India, none of these were viable options. It needed only one thing: water, and the people here were more than happy to help the reptile. Number 20. A cat was on the verge of drowning when this guy heard the desperate cries. At first, the feline wasn't sure whether or not to trust the rope lowered to him, but after a moment of deliberation, he grabs it to finally get pulled to safety. Number 19. While diving off the Maldivian waters, Antonio Di Franca and Simone Muchimeci spotted a whale shark with a fishing rope between its head and pectoral fins. They immediately swung into action, slowly gripping the rope until it came off, a task that took them 10 minutes. The whale shark seemingly understood their intentions as it remained calm the entire time. Number 18. The powerful green anaconda could also use some help every once in a while. In this clip, for instance, the reptile was caught in a fishing net and was in dire need of getting saved. Lucky for the reptile, these two guys were just around the corner to free it. Number 17. These two brown bear cubs were on the verge of drowning after they couldn't keep up with their mom's swimming abilities. Just as they were losing hope, two fishermen came to the rescue with a boat. Check out how one of them is so eager to get aboard. Number 16. A frozen lake isn't a very good place to hang out, something that this deer found out a bit late. The slippery surface made walking impossible, which meant he could have stayed there for quite some time, and probably starved to death. Good for the animal though, a couple of firefighters were around to offer a helping rope. Number 15. A stray dog mommy had seemingly reached a tipping point as far as taking care of her 7 pups was concerned. As fate would have it, a group of 8 men just happened to have a trip in a cabin near the dog's home. The dog would drop by the cabin, and it wasn't long before the men found out about her puppies. Each of the men would later go home with 1 dog at the end of their trip. Number 14. While looking for a meal, a group of raccoons dived into a dumpster. Too bad though, they couldn't get out after having their fill. This guy just walked in on them, and you can tell that they're really begging him for some ideas. Watch as he helps them get out. Number 13. A shell was stuck on a sea turtle's back, and you can tell the reptile was pretty bothered, but he couldn't get it off, so he decided to hit up this diver for help. Check how the turtle circles the diver until he plucks the shell off. Number 12. A whale shark had been following these Malaysian fishermen for some time, so they decided to see what was up. Turns out he had a rope near his fins that needed removing, a task the fishermen gleefully took on. Before the shark disappeared into the ocean, he thanked them with a swash of his tail. Number 11. This young bear somehow managed to get his head into a plastic jar, but removing it became too much of a task. I think we can all agree that it was just a matter of time before the inevitable happened. Luckily, he came across a couple out fishing who were more than ready to help him. Number 10. In 2020, a giraffe in Kenya's Haller Park was spotted with a tire around its neck. No one knew what had happened, but the tire had to be removed, seeing as it was causing a wound. Given the animal's size, the task was tough, but the giraffe's neck was free in a couple of minutes. Number 9. Mother Goose was in distress after her kid got caught up in a string from a balloon, so she went over to a patrol car and kept pecking at it until one of the cops followed her. The cop knew what to do as soon as he saw the gosling. Number 8. Researchers noticed a sea turtle swimming close to their boat, and upon close observation, they also noticed it dragged with it a discarded fishing net. Pulling the reptile out of the water, they found out that the net had been around the turtle's neck long enough to bore into the flesh. They immediately get to work. Number 7. A humpback whale is one hell of a load to handle. That's why when this one got stranded off the Namibian coast, the whale rescuers knew they had some serious work to do. The animal's weight combined with the crushing waves kept working against them. But 4 hours later, the mammal was safe and sound in its natural home. Number 6. An elephant in Zimbabwe was shot in the head by a poacher, but was lucky enough to survive. Unfortunately, though, that meant living with an increasingly painful wound until he couldn't take it anymore. To his relief, there were enough people to answer his call for help. Number 5. This juvenile sperm whale was very keen on getting rid of a hook that had been stuck in its jaw for some time. Good for the whale, a diver just happened to be passing by, so she made a point to let the human know about the hook. Number 4. 2019 was one of the worst years for animals in Australia as heat waves and wildfires tore through the country. This thirsty koala was one of the unfortunate victims when a group of cyclists found him, and they were more than happy to quench the little guy's thirst. Number 3. This elephant mom wouldn't stop wailing at night, so a few villagers dropped by to investigate. Turns out she was really worried about her baby, who was trapped in a well a few feet away, and she knew she could count on the people to help him, so she led them to the well. Number 2. Prey can get a bit scarce for foxes in frigid temperatures, which means long periods between meals. But this enterprising fox figured out a way around this: borrow some munchies from the fishermen. And as you can see in the video, the fishermen were more than willing to share. Number 1. Dolphins are certainly the kind of animals that would know what to do when they need help. In 2013, one of these cheerful marine mammals in Hawaii had a fishing hook caught in his pectoral fin. When he saw a group of divers in the water, he knew help had arrived.